What if suffering was not something to be avoided, but rather something to be embraced? What if pain, struggle, and hardship were not signs of weakness, but pathways to a higher, more authentic existence? These questions lie at the heart of Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy, a worldview that is often as controversial as it is enlightening. Nietzsche's ideas challenge many of the conventional beliefs that society holds dear, such as the pursuit of happiness as the ultimate goal or the belief that suffering should be alleviated at all costs. In Nietzsche's eyes, life's hardships aren't burdens to escape. They are opportunities to forge something greater, to push beyond limitations, and to achieve a form of personal greatness that transcends traditional norms. In a world where comfort and convenience are often seen as ideals, Nietzsche's philosophy offers a radical alternative: to embrace suffering and struggle, seeing them as essential components of growth, transformation, and ultimately, the will to power. This idea of becoming who you are is central to Nietzsche's worldview, where self-overcoming and embracing life in all its complexity and difficulty are not just recommended, they are essential for true human flourishing. But how can we interpret and apply this philosophy today? How can we view life's challenges as stepping stones toward greater self-realization rather than mere obstacles? In this essay, we will delve deeper into Nietzsche's philosophy, examining his views on suffering, struggle, and growth, and explore how his revolutionary ideas might resonate in our own lives. Before we dive into Nietzsche's profound and often perplexing philosophy, welcome to the Unfolding Journey YouTube channel. Here, we embark on a deep exploration of the human experience, unraveling the complex tapestry of philosophical ideas, self-growth, and personal empowerment. Just as Nietzsche's philosophy challenges us to confront the uncomfortable truths about existence, we are dedicated to guiding you through the exciting yet sometimes difficult journey of self-discovery, resilience, and transformation. Whether you're seeking intellectual stimulation or practical wisdom to enrich your everyday life, you'll find thought-provoking content that invites you to question, reflect, and grow. Now, let's begin our exploration of Nietzsche's philosophy of life, where suffering, struggle, and growth are not only acknowledged but revered as the keys to realizing the fullest version of ourselves. Nietzsche's radical philosophy: suffering as a path to strength. Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy stands in stark contrast to many traditional systems of thought, especially those influenced by Christianity and Enlightenment ideals. Nietzsche's famous proclamation that God is dead was not merely a statement of atheism but a radical critique of the moral system that had dominated Western thought for centuries. In Nietzsche's view, traditional moral frameworks often preached resignation, submission, and the avoidance of suffering as virtues. The Christian worldview, for example, encouraged individuals to embrace meekness, humility, and an idealized form of passive acceptance in the face of life's adversities. However, Nietzsche rejected this passive view of existence. He believed that life, in its essence, is filled with struggle and suffering, but that these elements should not be feared or avoided. Instead, they should be seen as opportunities for growth and self-transcendence. According to Nietzsche, the very process of overcoming suffering and hardship is what creates the conditions for human greatness. This idea is most clearly expressed in his concept of the Übermensch, often translated as the Overman or Superman. The Übermensch is an individual who has transcended conventional morality, who has learned to embrace the struggles of life, and who continually strives to overcome limitations, both internal and external. Nietzsche's famous maxim, "What does not kill me makes me stronger," encapsulates this central idea. The challenges we face are not punishments or signs of our inadequacy, but rather opportunities to exercise and strengthen our will to power. The fundamental drive Nietzsche believed exists within all humans to overcome obstacles and grow stronger in the process. For Nietzsche, the presence of suffering does not mean that life is meaningless or devoid of value. On the contrary, suffering is what imbues life with meaning. It challenges us to confront the truth of our existence and pushes us toward a higher state of being. This idea is reflected in Nietzsche's concept of eternal recurrence, the notion that we should live as though we were willing to experience our lives over and over, eternally. To Nietzsche, if we could fully embrace the totality of our lives, suffering, joy, love, and loss, and choose to relive them in their entirety, we would truly affirm life in its fullest form. In a world where suffering is often seen as something to escape, Nietzsche flips this understanding on its head. He argues that it is only through suffering that we are able to develop the resilience and wisdom necessary for growth. The suffering we experience, whether it be physical pain, emotional distress, or existential crises, are not mere inconveniences. They are the crucible in which our character is forged. Struggle as a form of self-overcoming. The idea of struggle and suffering being pathways to self-growth is central to Nietzsche's concept of self-overcoming. To Nietzsche, life is a constant process of becoming, a journey in which we are always striving to overcome the limitations imposed on us by our circumstances, society, and our own nature. This process of self-overcoming is not a one-time event, but a lifelong commitment to transformation and growth. In Nietzsche's eyes, the individual is not born with an innate set of values or fixed characteristics. Rather, the individual has the capacity to shape and redefine themselves constantly, choosing their own path in life. The struggle to define oneself, to assert one's own will, and to challenge established norms is essential to becoming who one truly is. This process of self-overcoming is painful because it requires the individual to confront and discard old beliefs, habitual ways of thinking, and even parts of their own identity that no longer serve them. One of the most powerful illustrations of self-overcoming is Nietzsche's idea of the will to power. The will to power is not just a desire for domination over others. It is the fundamental drive to assert oneself, to grow, and to evolve. Every individual, in Nietzsche's view, possesses this will to power, which is constantly striving for greater expression and fulfillment. The struggle involved in this drive is not one of mere external conflict, but an internal battle, an ongoing tension between who we are and who we have the potential to become. For Nietzsche, to embrace struggle is to engage in this continuous process of self-overcoming. It means resisting the pull of complacency, avoiding the temptation to settle for mediocrity, and instead pursuing a life of challenge, growth, and transformation. The more we engage with life's struggles, the more we cultivate our capacity for greatness. Growth through suffering, the idea of becoming who you are. The phrase "become who you are" is one of Nietzsche's most famous aphorisms and encapsulates his vision for the human condition. To Nietzsche, self-realization is not about achieving some external goal, but about embracing and actualizing one's unique potential. This process of becoming who you are involves confronting the complexities of life, including its inevitable suffering, and using these experiences as stepping stones toward greater understanding and mastery over oneself. Becoming who you are requires self-awareness, courage, and the willingness to take responsibility for your own life and choices. It requires rejecting the herd mentality and societal norms that often dictate what is considered acceptable or successful, and instead charting your own path. This is where Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch comes into play, a person who has mastered the art of self-overcoming and who lives in alignment with their highest potential. Nietzsche's notion of becoming who you are is, in many ways, a call to live authentically. It invites individuals to break free from the constraints of imposed identity and societal expectations and to create themselves anew. This act of creation is not an easy one. It involves deep introspection, difficult choices, and confronting painful truths about oneself. However, in embracing the struggle that comes with this process, individuals are able to transcend the limitations of their past selves and grow into something greater. Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy of life is a call to embrace suffering, struggle, and the challenges that life inevitably presents. Rather than seeing these obstacles as burdens or signs of failure, Nietzsche encourages us to view them as essential opportunities for growth, transformation, and self-creation. Through suffering and struggle, we can become who we are meant to be, transcending the limitations imposed upon us by society and ourselves. Nietzsche's radical ideas about embracing life's challenges, particularly through his notions of self-overcoming and the will to power, invite us to reframe our relationship with suffering. Rather than seeking to avoid pain or discomfort, We are challenged to see it as a necessary part of the human experience that can lead to strength, wisdom, and authenticity. By embracing suffering, we can grow in ways we never imagined, ultimately becoming more resilient, self-aware, and fully realized individuals. In a world that often prioritizes ease and comfort, Nietzsche's philosophy offers a compelling reminder that true greatness lies in our ability to confront life's difficulties head-on, learn from them, and transform ourselves in the process. So, the next time you face adversity, remember Nietzsche's words, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into Nietzsche's philosophy of life. If you found this exploration of suffering, struggle, and growth thought-provoking, be sure to subscribe to the Unfolding Journey YouTube channel. We have many more insightful discussions, philosophical explorations, and personal development topics coming your way.